that are watching via Zoom know I am not Senator Carla Nelson. However, I am using her computer. That's why her name shows up underneath my picture. With that, we will turn it over to Senator Nelson. Welcome, Madam Chair.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. And it's always great to be presenting a tax bill. I'm hearing an echo here. Where is that coming from? All right. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I'm glad to be bringing you the Senate Tax Bill 2. And to do that, members, the first thing we need to do is we need to move House File 3669 off the table. You'll recall that came over from the House, and actually it passed on a party line vote last week on May 4th, and it was sent to the Senate and now is in the Tax Committee. So, Mr. Chair, I move that we take House File 3669 off the table.
Senator Nelson moves House File 3669 be removed from the table. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. And Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And then, members, I do have the A1 Delete Everything Amendment, which should be in your packets, and it also is online. And as you know, we walked through that yesterday, and later today we'll be taking testimony and potential other amendments. But before we do that, I do want to amend the bill in front of us now with the A12. And again, this is the author's amendment to the Delete Everything.
First, Madam Chair, we will adopt the Delete Everything Amendment, and then we will add the amendment to it. All those in favor of the A1 Delete All Amendment, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Now, Madam Chair, for your next amendment.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to adopt the A12, which is the author's amendment to the Delete All.
Okay, that is being handed out, members. Give you a moment to get it. The A12 amendment will put the A1 Delete Everything Amendment in the manner in which the author wishes it to be. And all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. A12 is adopted.
Thank you very much. And so, members, the A12 is a result of, as you do a big bill like this, you realize there are some additional improvements, things that had meant to be included that might not have been included, or additional feedback. And so the A12 represents a betterment of the bill currently before us, House File 3669. And there's a number of provisions, and what I'd like to do is ask Ms. Pollack to briefly go through the provisions in the A12. These are items that we had not discussed yesterday.
Very good. Ms. Pollack.
Mr. Chair and members, the A12 amendment contains some modifications to provisions that were discussed yesterday, as well as some new provisions, and also reflects some technical changes indicated by the department's administrative considerations memo that was issued yesterday evening. On lines 1.3 and 1.4 of the amendment, these make a punctuation clarification to the PTE tax provision. Line 1.5 clarifies the age requirement for individuals eligible for the public safety pension subtraction. Lines 1.6 to 1.10 corrects the inflation adjustment for the K-12 credit income threshold. 1.11 to 1.15 makes a technical change to the definition of income for the type of filer and modifies the paid family leave credit equal to 50% of the amount for insurance premiums paid for paid family leave. This is a modification to the provision as it appears in the A1. Line 1.6 deletes unnecessary language. 1.16 deletes unnecessary language. 1.17 clarifies the entity eligible to qualify for the new markets tax credit. 1.18 and 1.19 clarify terminology for the spousal portability provision. 1.20 to 1.26 clarifies language regarding the election of the deceased spouse unused exclusion amount for the portability provision. 1.27 corrects the effective date. 1.28 and then all the way to 3.3 add an exemption for construction materials for the North Metro Regional Public Safety Training Facility. This is a provision from Senator Limmer's bill, Senate File 3486. 3.4 all the way through 6.14, add the exemption for construction materials used in and equipment incorporated into facilities used principally by school districts and public infrastructure for school districts, along with the refund provision, the refund application provisions that apply under current law. This was not part of the A1 amendment yesterday, and it was part of provisions that were introduced by Chair Nelson and Senator Rarick. Moving on to 6.15 to 7.21 of the A12. These make some clarifying changes to the referendum requirements for approval of local sales taxes, and this is based on discussion yesterday from Senator Bach and Senator Dietzick. 7.22 to 8.5 add the authorization to increase the Moorhead local sales tax from 22 to 30 years, as was in Senator Eakin's bill, Senate File 4017. 8.6 to 9.18 authorize the city of Oakdale to impose their local sales tax for an additional 5 years, so that would be from 25 to 30 years. 9.19 to 9.28 modify the provision allowing local jurisdictions to increase the amount that may be raised for projects authorized in the 2021 Omnibus tax bill. Instead of the 10% maximum increase that was outlined yesterday, the increase allowable would be $3 million. It would also require local jurisdictions that are using this option to file an updated resolution with the state auditor by August 31st of the year the project is presented to the voters. 9.30 to 9.31 modify the charitable gambling combined net receipts tax changes. The first tier rate is reduced from 9% to 5%, and the second tier bracket is modified accordingly. This is a modification from the provision that appeared in the bill yesterday. And I'm sorry, I missed 9.29. This clarifies that a recipient may specify a withholding rate for retirement accounts. This is in response to Senator Bach's questions yesterday. And then finally, Mr. Chair, 10.1 to 10.2 correct the base amount calculations for the stadium reserve transfer resulting from the changes to the charitable gambling taxes that I mentioned earlier. Mr. Chair, that concludes the A12 authors amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Pollack. Mr. Wilms, would you reflect the changes in the spreadsheet, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair and committee members, the updated fiscal tracking document has a timestamp of May 9th, 2022, 6 p.m. The relevant changes that reflected by the author's amendment are mostly contained within Section 2, the other tax revenue changes, so all tax policy, and the majority of them are within the general fund except for the sales tax modifications, which also have legacy fund effects. Line 64, the credit for eligible parental leave expenditures. The estimate has been revised downward to reflect the modification to a 50% credit for insurance coverage for parental leave expenditures. Similar effect on line 77 in the corporate franchise tax, which revises the FY25 estimate downward. On net, the change is approximately $5 million reduction in the estimate for that provision. Line 101 line 96 and 97. Those are new additions to the spreadsheet that reflect the addition for exempting construction materials by school districts. That's effective beginning for FY '25 and at an approximate cost of $4.6 million. As the footnote indicates, the full effect is roughly double that and will be first realized in FY '26 and later. Line 97 reflects the addition of the exemption for construction materials used in the North Metro Range. That has a retroactive effective date, and all of the effects of that are expected to occur in FY '23. As noted earlier, those two provisions have minor non-general fund changes, which are reflected later in the spreadsheet. And then finally, line 101 shows the modification of the charitable gambling proposal. It changes the previous combined net receipts tax modifications from bracket expansions to only expanding the first bracket and then lowering the rate on the first bracket as well from 9% to 5%. And that's roughly a similar cost as the proposal carried before. Finally, the only other addition are just related to the footnotes found on page 5 for further clarification of some of the provisions. And that is the summary of the changes.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Wells. Senator Nelson, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe the A12 amendment, as I said, further enhances the House file as amended now by the Senate bill, and I would encourage yes vote.
Okay. We've already voted on that amendment.
Oh,
Madam
I'm
Chair.
sorry. Oh, to the full bill. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was thinking on the
As
spreadsheet.
amended.
Oh, yes, we have lots to say about the full tax bill as amended. And just to note, this omnibus tax bill builds on the permanent ongoing tax relief that was included in Tax Bill 1 that passed off the Senate floor on April 7th. And now it reflects total Senate tax relief of around $8.65 billion over 3 years. And about $8.43 billion is from Tax Bill 1, and what you see today is about $179 million in additional tax relief and $37 million to support the property tax priorities, which we will ask Chair Weber to speak of in a bit. And just to note, the governor's tax proposal is about $2.9 billion over 3 years, and most of that is for those one-time WALS checks, and it does include some new spending for public safety aid. In addition, the House DFL tax bill is about $3.2 billion over 3 years. That's largely a mix of targeted tax relief and nearly $500 million in local aid spending. That was passed, as I said, off the House floor on May 4th by a party line vote. And so the bill that we have before us today is really the type of bill that Minnesotans need right now. The Senate tax bill before us today is a bill that will empower Minnesotans who are so strapped right now by historic inflation, historic gas prices, eating away at their paychecks. This bill will immediately get ongoing, permanent tax relief to Minnesotans. Minnesotans need it because of the times that we're in with historic inflation and how that is challenging to their budgets, to their family budgets, and just affording daily life. In addition, though, and this is rather new, these very challenging, high inflationary times. But something that is not new that this bill addresses is the fact that Minnesota continues to be an outlier. We continue to be a state of high taxation, almost an island of high taxation. No matter which tax indice you look at, we are in the top 5, sometimes worse than that as far as taxation. And so 2 of the areas where we are so out of sync are 2 of the large areas that this bill addresses. One is our often nation-leading income tax. We are one of the top taxed states regarding income tax. And as you'll recall, the bill before us reduces that first-tier income tax where everybody who pays income tax will see a reduction. And in fact, the two lowest deciles of income already don't pay income tax in Minnesota and often have a refundable tax credit because we are a progressively taxed state and we want to certainly support those who need it most. In addition, the bill before us adds the third decile of income producers in Minnesota. They will see 100%. They will see an effective tax cut of 100%. And then as you go up the deciles, of course, the effective tax rate is much, much less. And at the top, at the 10th decile, it's just about a 1% effective tax rate cut. And so, and then I'll just mention one other thing, members, because I know we have lots more to do, and you're so well aware of this bill. But I also want to just note that the second largest provision in this bill is not taxing the Social Security benefits. We should join the more than 30 other states who do not tax these benefits. This bill does that. It removes all taxation on Social Security benefits. And it does include, as the amended version today, I also wanted to note, it included the additional local option sales taxes that had been requested. So, members, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chair. I believe we have some testifiers, and I know that we'll have more comments as we move forward.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, members, we will turn to the list of testifiers. First up will be Commissioner Doty and, pardon? Oh, excuse me, Senator Bach?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Nelson, late yesterday, we had a conversation about the local sales tax provisions, and I think I had a potential amendment with like 5 cities that were kind of left off, and I was kind of under the impression we were going to do more on that than just Oakdale in this amendment. All I see in your amendment is just the city of Oakdale. And then we talked about a 10% or a $3,000 or $3 million cap. And I'm wondering, I don't see that in here either. I'm wondering what kind of happened to those provisions, or are they rolled into the A1 that we already adopted, or where are we at on that?
Chair Nelson?
Mr. Chair, thank you, Senator Bach. The provision to up to a $3 million increase covers all of those others, except the two, both Edina and Fergus Falls, I believe. What was the other one? I'm going to have Ms. Pollock give you the two that were that exceeded what our $3 million increase would include. There were only 2, and I'll ask Ms. Pollock to mention those.
Ms. Pollock?
Mr. Chair, Senator Nelson, Senator Bach, the $3 million provision in the A12 amendment would not cover the Edina request, and the Oakdale request would be for an additional $5 million, so it would not quite cover Oakdale.
And Ms. Pollock, where do I find the $3 million provision?
Mr. Chair and Senator Bach, that is on, starting at line 9.19 of the A12.
Oh, I got it. Thank you. And Mr. Chairman,
Senator
Senator
Bach?
Nelson, one other
Yes.
question on the, Senator Thomasoni and I had a bill for a small number of school districts, I want to say 4 or 5 of them, that passed referendums and then ran into COVID, and they've got huge cost overruns in their school construction. And so we had a bill to exempt those school districts from the local sales or the state sales tax as a way to try and mitigate some of the cost overruns that they're having. And I appreciate the fact that there's a provision in here that exempts school construction from sales tax, but it doesn't go into effect until June of '24. So it's not going to do anything for the school districts that have got the huge cost overruns right now. So I guess as we get into conference committee, I don't think it adds a lot of money to try and include at least those school districts that passed referendums right at the beginning of COVID, and now when they went out to bid, they're finding themselves, I can just tell you in the case of Ely in my district, I think about $4 million over budget on a $20 million project. And, you know, the voters voted the school board feels like they have to deliver on the project the voters voted for. And so you can only value engineers so much. Unlike a city or county, they can't go back and just raise a levy because they're subject to a voter-approved referendum. So I think somehow there's a small number of these school districts that are really caught in a really tough spot. You know, I think the ones that went out, the potential of going out for referendums this November are going to be in a situation where they're going to have some idea what the COVID cost overruns are. But the ones that went out for a referendum right prior to or during COVID weren't aware of those cost overruns. So as we get into conference, Madam Chair, I think we got to take a look at those districts that find themselves in a really, really tough spot. That's just for the record, Mr. Chairman, as we get into conference.
Very good. Chair Nelson?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and Senator Bach, yes, thank you for pointing that out. I do believe that's something we'll want to look at in conference, just like with the local option sales tax. We realized that those had gone out for referendum before COVID and the large inflationary costs needed to have some sort of relief, and I do believe that's something we will examine in conference committee. So thank you. Yes, very important. Very good. With that, let's turn to the testifiers, and Commissioner Doty, please come to the table, and you know the procedure. You may proceed when you're ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Chair Nelson, and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. For the record, my name is Robert Doty, and I'm the Commissioner at the Minnesota Department of Revenue. The Department of Revenue appreciates the work this committee has done to assemble this bill, specifically on the area of federal conformity. As I mentioned during my remarks on Senate File 3692, we all agree on the importance of responding to the federal tax changes enacted since our tax statutes were last updated in 2019. Individual taxpayers, CPAs, and businesses have all expressed the need to update our tax code to reduce complexity and compliance costs. This bill adopts the governor's approach to update the general conformity date and provide important conformity for individuals and businesses. We look forward to continuing to work with members of the committee and stakeholders on the best approach to administer this update that could impact multiple years of returns and adjustments for taxpayers. We also appreciate the provisions included in this bill that share the governor's priorities to support children and families and invest in small businesses. The governor's budget and this bill make needed updates to the Child and Dependent Care Credit and the K-12 Education Credit. Additionally, both bills update the measure of income for the K-12 Education Credit to simplify the calculation of the credit. These changes will make the credits available to more taxpayers. We also appreciate the inclusion of items from the department's policy and technical bill. These items may be small, but they are important to ensure we are providing customers with the information, education, and services they need. Unfortunately, this bill misses the opportunity to provide meaningful tax relief to Minnesotans who need it the most. This bill does not increase the fairness of our tax system by helping low to middle income Minnesotans and small businesses or allow for significant investments in public services as part of the rest of the budget. Last month, I testified about concerns about the costly provisions in this bill that provide the largest amount of tax relief for the wealthiest Minnesotans, including the income tax rate cut, Social Security benefit subtraction, and the estate tax exemption increase. I have a few additional items I would like to mention. The bill conforms to the federal treatment of Section 529 college plans to allow tax benefits for K-12 private school tuition payments and increases the K-12 subtraction amount by 50%. The governor has expressed concerns about extending public money to private schools, especially during a time when we should be funding the needs of our public schools. Finally, we are concerned about the financial impact of this bill. The repeal of the statewide general levy will cost the state $1.5 billion a biennium once it is phased, and that is not reflected on the spreadsheet since it falls outside of the budget window. The department would like to reaffirm our commitment to making sure policies included in the final tax bill can be administered well for the taxpayers you intend to benefit with these policy choices. We will continue to share policy and administrative concerns as we continue to review the bill. Again, I want to thank Chair Nelson and members of the committee for the opportunity to testify. And thank you for your partnership thus far, and we look forward to a productive dialogue as we move towards the end of session.
Thank you, Commissioner. With that, we will go to our next testifier.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I
Madam
do
Chair.
want to just mention one thing. I do want to thank the Commissioner for the notice that came last evening regarding some of these things, and some that we were able to take care of right away today, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Very good. Matt Norris from Youth Prize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chair Nelson and members of the committee. I'm Matt Norris. I'm the Policy Director and Director of Minnesota After School Advance at Youth Prize. I want to apologize for having to come to you remotely today. I'm recovering from a bout with COVID and didn't want to risk infecting anyone, but I certainly wanted to take the opportunity to thank the committee for including provisions related to the K-12 education tax credit in the Senate's Omnibus tax bill. As we've discussed throughout the session this year, the educational first aid that this tax credit offers is needed more than ever right now as students attempt to recover from the impacts of distance learning. Updating this income limit for the maximum credit to $50,000, which would be the first increase in 25 years, would be a huge win for Minnesota families and their students. Indexing the income limit to inflation, as the Senate bill wisely does as well, will prevent us from ending up in a similar situation where a quarter century goes by without any adjustments to the limit. Similarly, your proposed shift to using federal adjusted gross income instead of household income to calculate eligibility will make this tax credit simpler and easier for families to use. Tens of thousands of students from every county in the state will benefit from these proposed changes. As you begin to work on a final tax bill with your colleagues in the House, I'd encourage the Senate to go even further and adopt the $70,000 income limit included in Senator Rest's bipartisan bill. Even at $50,000, paying for things like tutoring, driver's ed, or a computer can be a challenge for larger families. That's why, for instance, a family with 2 parents and 3 kids qualifies for free or reduced price lunch at $57,424. Add a 4th kid and it jumps to almost $66,000. If the income limit for the maximum tax credit is a flat rate that doesn't take into account household size, we believe that $70,000 is a better suited limit to support families of all sizes. However, the final number shouldn't distract from the real headline. The Senate, the House, and the governor all agree it's time to update this tax credit. Together, we can deliver critical educational first aid to low-income Minnesota students. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Norris. Next, we will turn to Ben Wogsland, Hospitality, Minnesota, and on deck will be John Reynolds with the NFIB. Welcome to the committee, and please identify yourself when you're ready, and you may proceed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. Good to see you all. Good to see you, Chair Nelson. My name is Ben Wogsland. I'm the Executive Vice President for Hospitality Minnesota, representing Minnesota's restaurant and food service, hotel and lodging, and resort and campground industries. Our industry has been one of the hardest hit, obviously, during COVID. We still remain down 25,000 workers from pre-pandemic levels. According to our most recent survey with the Federal Reserve, 50% of restaurants and hotels do not expect to get back to normal revenue until 2023 or later. At the same time, the workforce shortage is a real challenge. So we are very thankful for some of the provisions in the bill here that are going to help our industry. Number one, I want to thank you, Madam Chair, for the conformity language, particularly the Restaurant Revitalization Fund and other federal conformity. In addition to the other statistics I mentioned, 66% of restaurants in Minnesota have taken on debt due to COVID, and the average amount of that debt is about $500,000, very significant. So making sure that those grants that went out to 1,700 small businesses and restaurants here in Minnesota is really critical, and we really appreciate the work of the committee to include those provisions and the other federal conformity in the bill. We also want to speak in support, Mr. Chair, of the work that the property tax group did to phase out the state levy That is a long-term priority of Hospitality Minnesota. We really appreciate that, and also want to speak in support of the property tax provisions related to small mom and pop resorts and the valuation of tiers, very much in support of that. We also very much appreciate the protection of the statutory purpose of the lodging tax in this bill, making sure that those dollars continue to go toward the promotion and marketing of tourism in local economies. Lastly, the one item I'd like to speak to that didn't make the cut is sales tax exemption for restaurant equipment. This was Senate File 1318, a long-term priority of Hospitality Minnesota as well. Restaurants are one of the only manufacturers that continue to have to pay sales tax on their equipment for a product that they manufacture, in that case, food and beverage. We do believe that it is currently included in language in the other bodies, so we're just hopeful that as we move towards conference, we would just ask all of you to keep an open mind for that provision as well. But very much appreciate the work of the committee and you, Madam Chair, in putting together this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wogsland. Next, we will turn to Mr. Reynolds with the NFIB, and on deck will be Alex Stepanek, Advantage Capital. Welcome to the committee. Mr. Reynolds, please identify yourself, and you may proceed when ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is John Reynolds. I'm the State Director for the National Federation of Independent Business in Minnesota. First, I want to thank Chair Nelson and Chair Weber and the committee members for their work on these bills, or this bill this session. I've testified on a number of the provisions, so I won't repeat everything, but I'll just say a lot of our members are still struggling for the reasons that Mr. Wogsland mentioned. They can't find workers, their labor costs are way up, their supply costs are way up if they can find them. And for many of them, their sales are still down. So when I talk to them, I hear an overwhelming sense of frustration and pessimism, and a lot of them wonder how much longer they can hold on in this environment. And always at the top of the list of that frustration is Minnesota's tax system, which, as Chair Nelson mentioned, is highest in the country in a number of categories. So for my members, who the average, 75% of our members have fewer than 10 employees. Our average member has less than $500,000 in annual revenue. So for them, this bill means real relief. They see near-term relief in the form of the first-tier income tax credit, the paid leave tax credit, the federal conformity, and the modification to the pass-through income. And then they see long-term relief in the reform to the state general property tax levy that will make our state much more competitive in the future. So again, I just want to thank the committee. Thank you, Chair Weber. Thank you, Chair Nelson, for your great work. We appreciate it and hope the committee can support it.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Next, we turn to Mr. Stepanek. He is online, and on deck will be Nan Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Nelson, members of the committee. My name is Alex Stepanek, and I'm here testifying in support of the New Markets Tax Credit provision of the bill. And I work for a company called Advantage Capital. We're a small business investor and community development entity that has participated in the federal and state New Markets Tax Credit programs, and which for the last 20 years, this is a program that has supported affordable and flexible financing to small businesses in low-income communities. And when they need financing and they really struggle to find it, especially when they're trying to grow their business and create quality jobs in communities where quality jobs are really difficult to come by. And when they're created, they have a huge impact in their community. Now, this program builds on the existing Angel Tax Credit, which already is doing great work to get businesses the financing they need at their smallest. But when that company is ready to grow out of their garage and move into a new facility and grow their business and hire more employees, they struggle to find that next level of financing. And that's what New Markets is addressing, particularly for these businesses that are in these low income and underserved communities where it's even more difficult to find that financing. So last time I was here, I spoke about the details of the program and how this has worked in other states and how this can look in Minnesota. So today I really just want to say thank you to Senator Nelson and the committee on behalf of not just Advantage Capital, but to for all of the other groups that have supported this, the local CDEs that have participated at the federal level, that this bill will allow to continue doing great work year in and year out. So Sunrise Bank and MMCDC up in Detroit Lakes, CRF in the cities, Bremer, US Bank, as well as these local groups that see that this bill can provide a great impact on the communities that really need it most. Groups that have supported this, such as MEDA, LEDC, Minnesota Bankers Association, and Apex Economic Development up in Duluth. We really appreciate the time and attention that Senator Nelson and Senator Rest and Senator Dietzick have paid to this program to create a policy that builds on successful state and federal programs while also making this fit for Minnesota and what Minnesotans need now. And so we appreciate this bill being included in the initial tax package, and we're looking forward to answering any questions that might have.
Thank you, Mr. Stepanek. Next, we'll turn to Nad Madden from Minnesota Budget Project. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself, and you may proceed when ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Nan Madden. I'm director of the Minnesota Budget Project, and I appreciate the opportunity to testify today on House File 3669. I appreciate that this bill includes some expansions of tax credits targeted to low and moderate income Minnesotans that help bring down the costs of raising a family. I want to thank you, Chair Nelson, for including the long overdue updates and simplification of the K-12 education credit and expanding the child and dependent care credit for some families. We see expanded tax credits as an important companion, but not a replacement for needed increased funding for child care assistance and early education. However, these positive items make up only a small portion of the bill. We are disappointed that the bill does not expand the state's income-targeted property tax refunds, and especially urge you to consider the House's renter's credit expansion proposal as you go into conference committee. This bill would spend over 80% of the state's structural surplus for the 24-25 biennium on expensive and poorly targeted tax cuts. Both the proposed income tax rate reduction and the expansion of the Social Security exemption leave out the most struggling Minnesotans while giving the biggest tax cuts to higher income Minnesotans. The income tax rate reduction provides no benefit to about 1 in 5 Minnesota households, with modest income folks being the most likely to be left out. And the largest tax cuts from the Social Security proposal go to the highest income Minnesotans, who would receive over $2,000 a year tax cut on average. The most struggling families, individuals, and seniors would see little to no benefit from those tax cuts, but they would suffer the greatest harm from a failure to invest in public services today and from potential cuts to services in the future. The bill would cut revenues by another $1.5 billion per biennium when the state general levy has been fully eliminated. And that again is an untargeted tax cut that goes to properties regardless of whether they are struggling or highly profitable. As you go into conference committee, I urge you to focus instead on targeted tax policies and bringing down the size of the tax bill so Minnesota can make sustainable investments in childcare, affordable housing, education, and other building blocks of a high quality standard of living for all Minnesotans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. Next, we will turn to Paul Egger from the Minnesota Realtors, and on deck will be Natalita Sumo of the Children's Defense Fund. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record, and you may proceed when ready.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Paul Egger. I'm Senior Vice President of Governmental Affairs for the Minnesota Realtors Association. Thank you for the opportunity to testify this morning to highlight several items in the bill which we support. We appreciate that the federal update article conforms to the federal provision that provides homeowners who have had some portion of their mortgage debt forgiven by a lender through a short sale, foreclosure, or principal reduction relief from having that forgiven debt treated as income and taxed. We also support the provision in the bill extending the historic structure rehabilitation credit. Mr. Chair, last week I was in front of your property tax subcommittee testifying on the chronic shortage of housing available to meet the sustained high demand which we've seen in the market, and that's continued to drive price growth. With estimated market values increasing, our members share the concerns of homeowners around the state about the potential for large increases in property tax bills, and we think it is important to provide property tax relief, particularly direct relief, to homeowners this session. We appreciate the inclusion of several items in the Omnibus tax bill that were in Chair Weber's Property Taxes Division report, including the modifications to the targeting property tax refund, which provides tax relief to homeowners who have large tax increases from one year to the next. The increases to the homestead market value exclusion value thresholds, those thresholds are not indexed for inflation. And just for context, I shared in the property tax subcommittee, 10 years ago, the median sales price of a home was $149,000. And in 2021, it was over $306,000. So thanks to Senator Rest for bringing this bill forward to adjust those thresholds. It's time we do that. We also support the reductions too in the phase out of the state general levy for both CI property and seasonal rec property. And Mr. Chair, the provision addressing the senior citizens property tax deferral program, which I think is reasonable and provides an option for seniors who are struggling to pay their property taxes to age in place. We also hope that as the bill moves forward, you'll be open to increases to the homestead credit refund program, which provides direct relief to homeowners whose property taxes are high relative to their income. And this is another direct property tax relief program that does not shift any property tax burden onto other property taxpayers. And finally, just on that note, we hope that as the bill moves forward in the conference committee, that efforts are made to minimize that shifting of property tax burden onto other types of property. And just really appreciate the work that the committee's put into the bill. And thank you, Chair Nelson and Chair Weber.
Thank you. Next, we'll turn to Natalitha Sumo from the Children's Defense Fund, and on deck is Eric Bernstein, We Make Minnesota. Ms. Sumo.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Chair Nelson and members of the committee. My name is Natalitha Sumo, and I'm the Outreach Coordinator at the Children's Defense Fund, Minnesota. As Outreach Coordinator, I work with community partners to help families access tax credits and other public work support programs through our Bridge to Benefits tool. Hence, we're here today to share our perspectives on the important opportunity we have to invest in children and their families with tax policy this session. We appreciate the expansion of the Child Independent Care Tax Credit. If coupled with investments in early learning scholarships and child care assistance, improvements in the Child Independent Care Tax Credit can help us make progress on addressing the child care crisis in our state that is negatively impacting our families and employers alike. We're also glad to see the bill recognize the critical importance of paid family leave. However, we believe solutions need to provide access to all Minnesotan families. I think we can all agree that babies in neonatal intensive care unit deserves the presence of their mother. With the federal child tax credit ending, needs continuing, and cost rising, we're disappointed that the Senate bill does not adopt a similar effective poverty-producing policy. Minnesota does not have to wait for the federal government. Finally, we believe an approach that relies so heavily on our tax system to solve the large challenges our children and families face will fail to deliver for them in our state. We believe that we hope that you will consider a more balanced approach with smart investments in the system our economy and families need. Just as we must come together because we can't build roads and bridges as individuals, we must come together to build the infrastructure our families and children need to thrive. A $500 or $1,000 tax cut won't create an affordable childcare system or economic stability for families during a need for leave. We can only do those things together with pooled resources. Thank you for the opportunity to share our thoughts. We appreciate your service to the children and families of Minnesota. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Sumo. Next, Mr. Eric Bernstein, We Make Minnesota, and welcome to the committee. Identify yourself and proceed when ready.
Chair Weber, members of the committee, my name is Eric Bernstein, and I'm Policy Director at We Make Minnesota, and I appreciate the opportunity to come here and share our thoughts on Senate File 3669. As with the previous iteration of this bill, our coalition is concerned with the costly permanent tax cuts it contains. The tax cuts proposed here would consume more than 80% of the state's anticipated structural surplus, and with inflation factored in, would leave Minnesota in a functional deficit for the 2024-25 biennium. This would guarantee cuts for basic services like schools, transit, and public safety, and would forestall solutions to major social challenges. Already, our broken childcare system is being propped up with hundreds of millions of dollars in grant payments and scholarships, much of which has been financed through the federal COVID relief. What will happen when these funds disappear and we lack the revenue to replace them? Not only will children, families, and childcare workers suffer, but businesses will find themselves with even greater staffing shortfalls as parents stay home to look after their kids. Similarly, Minnesota is short more than 20,000 long-term care workers, many of whom are paid through state funding. Without substantial pay increases, the care worker crisis will only worsen as our population ages. Right now, Minnesota has the resources on hand to make childcare affordable and to ensure adequate care for senior citizens. We could be a leader in solving problems that are plaguing states across the nation, but the tax cuts included in SF 3669 would instead make these problems permanent while returning only nominal sums to most Minnesotans. The tax savings, 40% of which would go to the top 20%, will not be sufficient to make up for the loss of services and quality of life. Most filers would save 1% of household income or less. Beneficiaries making under $50,000 per year would save a paltry $7 per week, not including over 500,000 of the lowest earning Minnesotans who would get nothing. How many potholes, school bus route cancellations, and shuttered daycare facilities should Minnesotans suffer for $7 per week? Ironically, one lasting impact of SF 3669 would be tax increases, as local authorities scramble to make up for the loss of state funding. In fact, local tax increases are already happening right here in this bill. SF 3669 approves over $700 million in new local option sales tax revenue for more than a dozen cities and counties across Minnesota. Our coalition believes that every community deserves the trails, parks, and other public works projects that these bipartisan loss proposals will fund. But state tax cuts take us in the opposite direction. Rather than proactively building a brighter future for all Minnesotans, large permanent tax cuts would mean we fall further behind. SF 3669 is wrong for Minnesota, and we urge you to vote against it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bernstein. Next, we have Kate Schmidt, Dakota County United Educators, and on deck will be Ryan Hamilton of the Minnesota Catholic Conference. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record, and you may proceed when ready.
Good morning, Chair Nelson and committee members. My name is Kate Schmidt, and I'm a 32-year educator from the Rosemont-Apple Valley-Egan School District, currently serving as the president of Dakota County United Educators. I'm not a tax expert, but I am here today to talk about the kids in our Minnesota public schools. State funding for public education hasn't kept pace with inflation for the past 20 years, and that is unacceptable. Our schools have become experts at doing more with less. We beg and borrow to provide resources for our students. We reach into our own pockets to help pay for what our students need. An ever-widening income gap, institutional racism, and a global pandemic has created conditions in which our students come to school hungry, sleep-deprived, and suffering trauma. Minnesota students need and deserve leaders who make financial decisions with their best interests in mind. Throughout the pandemic, we heard concerns about students falling behind and learned just how important it is for students to be in school. I'm asking you to give schools what they need to give students what they need. We need the legislature to step up and invest wisely. We need state education funding to keep up with inflation and the cost of living. We need to put our students ahead of tax cuts for millionaires. We have the opportunity to do that just now with the surplus money. We can invest in schools now, or we can triple the expense later as we play catch up. You have the power to not only invest in today's students, but in tomorrow's workforce and societal well-being. If we don't start funding schools appropriately, we just won't have the resources and educators we need to teach Minnesota children. Public schools are the hallmark of democracy and the engine that powers it. Fully funding public schools is a moral imperative, especially with the children of Minnesota have done more with less for over 20 years. With a budget surplus, the time is now to show our Minnesota kids how much they matter. We have underfunded education for decades, and this tax bill will continue that practice into the future. Please don't shortchange our students again and give billions of dollars in tax breaks to businesses.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt. Next, we turn to Ryan Hamilton from the Minnesota Catholic Conference. On deck will be Heidi Swank from Revitalized Minnesota Coalition. Welcome to the committee, Mr. Hamilton. Please identify yourself, and you may proceed when ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Ryan Hamilton, and I'm the Government Relations Associate for the Minnesota Catholic Conference, the public policy voice of the Catholic Church in Minnesota. First and foremost, thank you, Chair Nelson and staff, for your ongoing work and the particular effort you placed into this bill. We appreciate several of the provisions of this bill, including attempts to pave the way for paid family leave options and an expansion of the K-12 subtraction. But broadly speaking, the package lacks meaningful relief for the low and middle income families who are struggling mightily because of inflation. 2 months ago, Bloomberg Economics reported that families are facing what is effectively a $5,200 tax bill due to inflation. According to the most recent Consumer Price Index, the cost of energy in our area is up 30%, food prices are up nearly 8%. And let's face it, some can endure these cost pressures more than others. So rather than doubling down on the dependent care credit, which only provides indirect assistance to a limited number of families, let's put flexible money directly into the budgets of our state's most important producers, parents who are raising minor children. A robust, fully refundable child tax credit could offset inflationary pressures on food, housing, gas for all families. The House bill does offer a starting point. Converting the House's one-time $325 child rebate into a permanent annual credit and increasing the amount to $450 would make Minnesota one of the leading states in the nation for targeted tax relief to families. Last year's expanded federal child tax credit gave us a great case study. It provided evidence of the positive impacts that a broad-based, flexible, fully refundable child benefit can have on family well-being. The expiration of the federal credit creates an opportunity for Minnesota to be innovative. One-time checks given indiscriminately to all filers and income tax cuts for the highest earners don't speak to the pressures Minnesota families are presently facing due to inflation. We hope you will revisit a child tax credit proposal in conference committee to speak to this urgent need. It's unimaginable that we would not give back the surplus to those who need it most. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and thank you for your service to the state of Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Next, Ms. Swank, and on deck will be John Apitz, Minnesota Regional Railroad Association. Welcome to the committee, Ms. Swank. Please identify yourself for the record. You may proceed when ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Heidi Swank. I am the president of the Revitalized Minnesota Coalition. We are a group of architectural historians, historic preservationists, architects, developers, financial institutions, cities and communities across Minnesota, as well as individuals who love their historic buildings. I'm here to thank you, Madam Chair, and the rest of the committee for the inclusion of the Minnesota State Historic Tax Credit in the Senate Omnibus bill and the removal of the sunset to making this tax credit permanent. As many of you already know, from the inception of this program, the Minnesota State Historic Tax Credit has created over 24,000 jobs, had an economic impact of $1.9 billion all across Minnesota, from Northfield to Albert Lea to International Falls. So unlike many other tax credits, this tax credit has an annual study that comes along with it that provides great oversight for this body to ensure that this tax credit is doing what you would like it to do across Minnesota. So I want to thank you again for the inclusion of the Minnesota State Historic Tax Credit in this bill, and we look forward to the continuing conversations as this bill moves into conference committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Swank. Next, Mr. Apitz, and on deck is Beth Cadoon from the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Mr. Apitz. You may identify yourself and proceed when ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could have a page 2, I would offer you these materials.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, my name is John Apitz. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Regional Railroads Association. We appreciate this opportunity to testify in committee. Just given the number of other businesses who've been assisted in this bill, we are a little bit disappointed that it doesn't include the tax credit for
short line railroads that's contained in Senator Weber's Senate File 1501, the short line infrastructure modernization tax credit. This provision would help short line railroads improve their operations to the benefit of their customers, the people they serve, the producers, the businesses, the consumers, mostly in greater Minnesota, who rely on rail transportation to connect them to the world and to national markets. The short line infrastructure modernization tax credit, the SLIM tax credit, if you will, would provide a limited but very helpful amount of assistance to these small private businesses. It's patterned after a federal tax credit that's very similar to this, and one that's been adopted in several other states and proved very successful in upgrading short line railroad infrastructure. Short line railroads, the small railroads, are kind of the first and last mile of rail service to rural communities around our state. And the greatest challenge that they face today is how to adequately maintain and upgrade their track infrastructure, some of which is 50, 60, 80 years old. The average short line reinvests about 20 to 30% of its annual revenues back into its tracks, bridges, crossings, facilities. And that can amount to as much as $50,000 a mile. In 2015, the Minnesota did a state rail plan, which basically assessed the needs of the short lines and other railroads, and came to the conclusion that they need about $250 million to bring the track up to modern standards, which can handle heavier cars that are carried by the heavy railroads. The tax credit, the SLIM tax credit, would provide $5,000 per mile per year to help address some of this need. And the railroads that would benefit from the tax credit would first have to invest their own money to generate it. These upgrades are the kind of investments that last for decades, sometimes 100 years, but we can't just pay for them out of the rates that we charge. The fiscal note for Senate File 1501 estimates that the credit would cost the state less than $3 million a year, a relatively small amount when you contrast that with what the state spends every year to improve our roads. And the money that the state invests in roads directly benefits our competitors, the trucking industry that competes with short line railroads. And as long as the state spends hundreds of millions of dollars annually, and it must, hundreds of millions of dollars annually to maintain our roadways, trucks will compete for hauling freight and circumscribe the rates that railroads can charge. Rail investments provide big results and often lead to additional projects that directly reduce shipping costs, improve the bottom line for farmers, miners, manufacturers, businesses, and consumers that rely on rail to connect them to national and global markets. Based on the experience in 8 other states that have enacted similar legislation, this credit could generate as much as $24 million a year in new economic activity. So as your bill moves forward, committee, the short line railroads operating in Minnesota and their customers ask that you include Senate File 1501 in your tax bill. And Mr. Chairman, that'll be my soliloquy. This will be the last time that I'll be testifying in the legislature. So it's good to see you all, and I hope you can get the short line tax credit back on track. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Abbott.
You never know, John.
And next, we turn to Ms. Kadoun. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself, and you may proceed when ready.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Beth Kadoun. I represent the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank Chair Nelson and this committee for the inclusion of provisions in the Omnibus tax bill to provide permanent tax relief to help improve Minnesota's business tax climate and to help encourage investment and growth in our state. A strong and growing economy requires a strong and growing private sector. This bill will address an uncompetitive, high fixed cost of doing business in Minnesota with the phase out of the state levy, and this will help with our private sector growth. As we know, this tax must be paid regardless if a business is profitable or not. This will help bring Minnesota's business property taxes out of the top 10. This also reduces a regressive tax, as according to the Minnesota Department of Revenue's tax incidence study, a reduction in this tax will benefit Minnesota's workers the most, as well as consumers. We also thank you for the increase in the R&D tax credit, as this will help encourage greater R&D activity in our state. We have heard from many businesses about the importance of the R&D tax credit in their ability to not only keep those jobs here, but also to grow their R&D activity in Minnesota. We thank you for the inclusion of the paid leave small employer tax credit. As this provision will greatly expand access to paid leave, and benefits for many employees in an affordable manner without imposing an unworkable one-size-fits-all mandate on all employers in the state of Minnesota, as well as a large payroll tax increase. We also appreciate the inclusion of the federal conformity updates to help the hard-hit industries, the pass-through entity election modification to allow more business taxpayers to be able to utilize this entity option to lower their federal tax burdens, the Small Business Investment Angel Tax Credit to help Minnesota startups, and the estate tax portability. State tax burdens on private sector job creators are even more relevant and impactful in today's world of increased mobility, remote work, and global competition. During this time of historic budget surpluses, it is important for Minnesota to reduce uncompetitive taxes and improve Minnesota's business climate. We thank you for the provisions to provide much-needed permanent tax relief. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gadoon. I would mention, members, there are a serious packet of letters included in your information that was at your spot this morning. Ms. Gadoon is the last scheduled testifier. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to testify? Mr. Carnival, please come forward, identify yourself for the record, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm here on behalf of two clients, and I just very quickly would want to thank you and Senator Nelson for including the R&D tax credit on behalf of the Minnesota Technology Association, and on behalf of Greater Minneapolis BOMA, Building Owners and Managers Association, the phase out of the commercial industrial statewide property tax. So thank you both for that.
Thank you. If there is no one else, we'll turn to members for potential amendments at this point. Are there any at the Senator Ress?
Did the chair have an amendment that we passed already?
We did, the A12 amendment, yes. It was.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what my question is. Sorry, I'll come back to me.
Okay, very good. Senator Dietzig.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the A13 amendment.
Okay. Senator Dietzig moves the A13 amendment.
I don't have a copy of that, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can discuss it while they're passing it out.
Yes, you may.
Yep. So this is a simple amendment. Earlier, we heard Senator Weber's bill. Let me put my camera on. Thank you. Thank you. Earlier, we heard in tax committee, we heard Senator Weber had a bill tweaking the beginning farmers tax credit. And in that discussion, they are required to do, meaning the Department of Rural Finance Authority is required to do a report to the legislature on who is receiving this credit, how it's distributed across the state. And one of the questions it doesn't address is what is the racial makeup or ethnic makeup of those getting the credit. And if we want to, part of the discussion was who are we helping? And if we want to know, are we actually reaching minority farmers, then maybe we should look at that and include that as, if available, part of the data that is reported to the legislature. And then the last report was supposed to be February 22nd, and so is what this simple amendment does, is requires another report due February 1st, 2023, to include the, discussion this year, and then any of the credits this year, and then it includes also ask them to include in the report the number of beginning farmers by race and ethnicity, if they're available, and then the number of beginning farmers who are members of socially disadvantaged groups as defined in U.S. Code Title VII. I think that's just simple language, and then it goes on to just say no later than February 1st, 2023, the Rural Finance Authority, in consultation with Commissioner of Revenue, shall provide this report. And it's just to give us more information as we look to forward on if we want to continue this credit. And then I do have an oral amendment, I believe, and I'm going to ask Ms. Pollock if I need to change this on the A13th amendment on line 123. So since we're including, we want the data to include this year, do we need to change 21 on line 123 to 2022?
Ms. Pollock.
Mr. Chair, Senator Dietzick. I think the language on, starting on 2.7 applies to the year 2022, whereas the language on 1.23 applies to the years 2017 through 2021.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So then we don't need that, but thank you, members. Thank you just for your consideration. It's simple. It is, we are putting more money into the program, or at least it's proposed to more money to go into the program, not necessarily the credit, but to the program in the ag bill. And so I think it's just having this information going forward in future years as we look to, should we continue this tax credit, would be helpful. So that is the amendment. Thank you.
Chair Nelson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Dietzick, I do have just one question and then a comment or two. I do want to confirm with Mr. Wills then that this does not incur a cost or not a revenue estimate, but a cost.
Madam Chair and committee members, typically when we see language like this that asks for additional information, a fiscal note will come back saying that, you know, it might require additional effort by the department. In a lot of cases, you know, the cost is absorbed by the agency or money is appropriated. So it's sort of a chair's discretion approach as it relates to that. But the application fees, you know, related to this, you know, there's existing funding for this program.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair.
And Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Wilms, for that. Yes, and there's about 19 million, I think, of existing funding. And I believe, Mr. Chair, this is your provision that we are seeking to expand, not necessarily in this amendment, but perhaps elsewhere regarding the beginning farmers credit. So I have no objections to this because I think it gives us the information that will help propel the bill that Senator Weber, you had before our committee today. But those are my comments, but of course I'd like to hear from the bill author himself.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm okay with the amendment as well, and I consider it a friendly amendment and would encourage a yes vote. With that, members, here seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the A13 amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Senator Rest.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Nelson, I just have a question about what appears to be a pretty unique situation with regard to the A12. That is the local sales article. An inquiry from Senator Frentz. In the city of St. Peter was given approval or was given legislative approval to submit a sales tax increase, a local sales tax in last year's bill. And unlike other cities in that same legislation, they held their referendum in 2021. Nobody else did. So under the A12, which I worked with you on yesterday, the 2021 approvals are able to add up to $3 million in their, for their costs. But St. Peter's costs have gone up $500,000, and because they included they already did their referendum, they're not able to make that change, but their costs have gone up relative to inflationary adjustments and so on. And I don't have an amendment, but I do think it's a unique situation. I understand that if we tried to find a solution, or I'd like to, that might require St. Peter to once again offer a referendum, and obviously, because they already passed a referendum, if they wanted again, it would be they'd have to pass another referendum with the additional costs that I would hope would come in and be complementary to under that $3 million that we approved before. So I don't have language, but I do think it is a unique situation that we should be sympathetic to in addressing. If they had waited until 2022, there would be no issue for them. They would be able to make that increase. So I just bring that to your attention and hope that Senator Frentz and I can work with you on some sort of solution for them that might indeed include a new referendum.
Chair Nelson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Ress, I received an email about this yesterday, this unique St. Peter situation having already passed the referendum from the House member, actually. I've not talked to Senator Frentz, but would be glad to speak with him about this. And I do think it's a unique situation. We are totally unaware of any other that was passed in 2021 that has already gone to a referendum. So I am aware of the situation, and it is something that we might need to consider as we move forward, moving on into conference committee, how best to address that.
To address that. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Senator Nelson. I don't consider this change a technical change, by the way. It's a policy change. But I do think it's a unique situation that perhaps there's a unique resolution to. But it's not technical. It's a policy issue.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Chair
So
Nelson.
I was just kind of scanning through to find my email on that, and I do have the information. It's from Representative Auckland, and it's the St. Peter Fire Station.
Yes, it's for the fire
is the
station.
project. And so this is something that we'll look at going forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Senator Ress. Yes, Senator Bach.
Mr. Chairman, I have the A2 amendment.
Okay, Senator Bach moves the A2 amendment. It'll be handed out. You may proceed with the explanation, Senator Bach.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I can't, I'm trying to think of a time when there was never a taconite provision in a tax bill. I think Senator Rest has been on the House and Senate Tax Committee longer than me, and I would bet she can't remember a time either. And what, Mr. Chairman, leads me to believe that somehow over my predecessor Doug Johnson's 20 years and my more than 20 years on the tax committee, that somehow over between 4 and 5 decades, we've gotten the taconite taxes into good shape in statute. But there, I do have one last provision, and because we don't have a minerals article, which is unusual to the tax bill, it'll fit into the miscellaneous article. But it's a provision that we carried last year. And somehow when the session adjourned and the conference committee kind of went underground, when the tax bill emerged, even though it was in the House and Senate bill, somehow it didn't get included into the conference committee report. And it's a provision about, in 2014, the legislature created at the IRRB a special dedicated account for the purpose of helping school districts consolidate or cooperate together. And we cobbled together some pennies and nickels from different places in the taconite tax formula. And and it's been very, very successful. We've had a number of school districts consolidate or cooperating together like I've never seen before. And it's been so successful that we have more requests than we have ongoing money for. So what the amendment would do, under current law, there's a nickel of the taconite production tax money that we borrowed from the counties for a 10-year period. And they were using it for transportation purposes. And there was a feeling that they didn't really need that because they were going to the local option sales taxes. And those have been very, very successful in many of our counties up north and statewide. So it appears like the counties don't have the kind of need for that nickel that the school fund does. So the range legislators have decided that maybe we should park that nickel, take the sunset off, so that nickel continues to flow into the school account, so that we can do a couple more projects where we can help with the ongoing cost of debt service for the school districts. The department analysis of the amendment shows that there's no cost to the general fund. I don't want to get in the weeds, but I would argue it actually is a savings to the general fund, because as taconite taxes buy down property taxes for school referendums, there's actually savings in the property tax refund program. But anyway, they score it as a zero impact of the general fund, and it's my, Senator Rest, it's my very last taconite tax amendment, so I'd really like you to look kindly.
Would you like for me to move it for you, Senator?
So first, we'll go to Chair Nelson, and then we'll go to the members.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, Senator Bach, you know, we thought we passed this so many times, and I'm surprised that it seems to have gotten lost once again in the compilation of the bill. I have to only think that it was somehow intentional so that you could offer it as an amendment, which you are so known for, those good amendments. So I do accept this as a friendly amendment, whether it's offered by Senator Bach or Senator Rest or whomever. It is a friendly amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I do request a roll call.
Senator Rest requests a roll call granted. Senator Gazelka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Bach, I noticed that you're moving it out 10 years, which tells me that you're hoping that whoever your predecessor is will get up to speed within those 10 years to carry on your legacy. So I am 100% in support of this.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the fiscal conservative that I am, and many of you actually know that, when you live in a region that has an economy that's very cyclical with national recessions, you have to be a little careful. But the reason for that 10-year sunset on that provision is some of the projects that we funded now, the debt service will be falling off by the time we get 10 years out, so that will free up some money as some of the bonds are paid off. So there's not a need to have it in that fund permanently.
Very good. Thank you. Any further comment, members? If not, we'll proceed to the roll call.
Chair Nelson,
Yes.
Senator Rest,
Yes.
Senator Bach,
Yes.
Senator Chamberlain, Senator Coleman,
Yes.
Senator Dietzick,
Yes.
Senator Gazelka,
Yes.
Senator Klein,
Yes.
Senator Weber.
Yes. There being 9 yes votes and no votes, the motion, excuse me, 8 yes votes and no votes, the amendment is adopted. Any further amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I think some people just wanted to get on the record so that they make sure that they're favorably considered in the bonding.
That was the point.
I certainly hope it worked.
We have been found out.
Senator Dietzick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And in further discussion with Ms. Pollack, I think we're going to go back, if possible, and reconsider the A13 and do an oral change, if that's possible.
Very good. As Senator Dietzick moves reconsideration of the A13 amendment, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. It is reconsidered. Senator Dietzick, you were right.
Yeah, so we're going to do an oral. It's kind of, it was kind of repetitive, so we decided the simpler way to do it is on line 1.23, just change that 2021 to 2022, and then delete 2.7 to 2.12. That's the oral amendment to A13.
Okay. You've heard the amendment. Any questions? Senator Nelson?
It's a friendly amendment.
Yes. Senator Rest.
Could Ms. Pollack, I'd like to mark up my amendment. Could she repeat it before we vote?
Mr. Chair and members, the oral amendment to the A13 would be on 1.23, strike 2021 and insert 2022. And then delete lines 2.7 to 2.12.
Thank you.
Very good. There are no further questions. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Amendment is adopted. If there are there any further amendments? Seeing none, the chair will exercise his prerogative just to make a few comments. And certainly, there was comments made about the property tax report, and I recognize that a plan to remove the state general levy creates angst for some people. And there was a comment made about, is done regardless of the profitability of a business or not. Quite frankly, I have not known any property taxes that were reliant upon the profitability of the business. Property taxes are based on value and what people are paying for those particular properties. And as we look at the issues that have been created the last couple of years, both due to the pandemic, due to civil unrest, we have seen property values in various parts of our communities, and particularly in commercial and industrial, that have taken a hit. We see vacancy rates in many of the apartments, or not apartment, but office complexes. And so I think that a tax that was put in place some years ago during the budget crunch for the state and has never been modified, or shouldn't say modified, there have been minor modifications to it, but has never had a plan to have it removed, I think is both unfair and not only to our business community, but to the state in general. Because it is business which provides jobs, it is business which helps to fund our local communities, and I think that we need to keep that in mind, as opposed to the state stepping in and taking real estate tax dollars out of the local economy. And as far as this overall tax bill is concerned, it deals with those individuals who have been paying the bill. There are a couple of provisions that I would have liked to have seen in there as well. I believe our short line railroads address an issue that became very apparent during the COVID situation. That is our supply chain, which has proven to be vulnerable in a number of areas. Having a good and reliable system for moving of our raw products across the state to our processors is, I think, a vital element. And I hope that at some point we can include that as well. And the beginning farmer tax credit, I believe, is an important issue. As we struggle to get our family farms passed on to the next generation, expanding that to family members is an important element as we proceed. And so I know that Senator Nelson is aware of these issues. The conference committee will be aware of them as well. And with that, I will turn the table over to Chair Nelson for final comments.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is a good tax bill. This is a tax bill that Minnesotans need now in a time of economic stress. And this tax bill reaches all corners of the state and all Minnesotans. It provides relief to all Minnesotans, and it's a different approach than the other body, which is kind of determining if you fit into this box and these calculations, you might see this. And this is not picking winners and losers, folks. This Senate tax bill will empower Minnesotans. It will spark economic growth. It will make Minnesota a tad bit more competitive. It will right-size our tax structure. We have we're sitting on over $12.5 billion, members. $12.5 billion that the Minnesota state government has collected over and above the needs in our state budget. And members, we have a whole nother year before our state budget, through this state budget, which this surplus could continue to grow. But the fact of the matter is, our state budget has continued to grow. 50 billion, then to 52 billion, then to 54 billion. We're on that type of a clip. And yet, revenues continue to exceed those increases. And it is time, particularly in a time where Minnesotans, much of the nation, have seen significant challenges in so many areas of life, and particularly with the high cost of inflation now. It is really important that we get this money back into the hands of Minnesotans. This Senate tax bill does so in a thoughtful way, and I would encourage a yes vote.
Very good. With that, Madam Chair, are you ready for your final motion?
Yes, I would move that we pass, the DE, what was that? The DE1 as amended. And I'll have Ms. Pollock correct that motion if those numbers aren't correct.
Ms. Pollock.
Mr. Chair and Chair Nelson, yes, the motion would be for the committee to adopt the A1 amendment as amended.
Very good. You've heard the motion. There's no more discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion is carried.
And Mr. Chair, I do want to make just a couple closing comments.
Very
before
good.
you,
Madam Chair.
Before you adjourn the meeting. Well, members, this is our perhaps last tax meeting, although I know we'll be getting together in the future, particularly as we go through conference committees. But you know, this is a special committee, and I am incredibly thankful for each one of you on the committee. And I know some of us have served on this committee for many years. Senator Gazelka, Senator Bach. I think I was sitting right over there in Senator Chamberlain's seat when we were all on this committee together. And the tax committee is that committee that is so critical. And what I want to thank the members particularly for your dedication to public service. This committee works well because the members are dedicated to public service. We don't always agree, but I have never seen anyone on this committee be less than respectful. We have not seen disrespect in this committee. We have been thoughtful. We debate, and we come up with those things that we believe are best for Minnesotans. So I particularly want to thank the members, and I think of two of our senior members that won't be back on the tax committee, and that'd be Senator Bach, Senator Gazelka. I have learned much from you throughout the years, and we know you'll be moving on to other things, and we hope we see you back in the Capitol. And then really the unsung heroes here are the staff. I don't think anyone can even begin to realize the amount of time that our tax staff puts in. And I'm going to start with our nonpartisans, Ms. Pollock, Mr. Wilms, Mr. Arneson, Mr. Sylvia. You guys are absolutely stellar. I just cannot thank you enough for your excellence and your dedication. No matter what time of day or night you are there, those are the real lifelines that get things done. So I thank you for that. And then, of course, my vice chair, Senator Coleman, Senator Weber, property tax sub chair. You do an excellent job, and we so rely on you, and I thank you for our partnership. And of course, our committee administrator, who's not here today. Some of these health issues are kind of taking their toll in the Capitol now, but I thank Mr. Steinhoff for his work as committee administrator. My committee legislative assistant, Maddie Hoy, you've been a rock star to come in and to be able to run such a great committee, the office, getting everything that we need. I thank you so much. And then, of course, we have Dan Mickelberg, our researcher, Krista Broughton, our researchers. We thank you for getting us all the information we need when we need it. And our pages. Our pages have been phenomenal. Thank you so much. Where's the gentleman? Where's our other page? Don't see him. He must have gone on to another committee right there. Thank you so much for making, it's a challenge to do hybrid committees, and you have made it work seamlessly, so thank you. I thank you all. Look forward as we take this good tax bill into conference committee, and then we need to get it into the hands of Minnesotans. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would mention, council has informed me we need one final motion to pass the A1 as amended to the floor.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I would move that we pass the A1 as amended to the floor, to the Senate floor.
Very good. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion's carried. With that, members, this committee stands adjourned. Thank you.